Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Corwin wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws and plays a mountain, tapping it for that sweet turn 1 Soul Ring. Ben just plays a tapped Watery Grave. Charles' turn has him playing Fire Nation Palace and shipping it to David. David plays a tapped Glittering Massif. Corwin's got a Rootbound Crag which comes in untapped and is able to cast the Dryad of Ilsean Grove. He then plays a Carplusian Forest as his second land drop and passes. Ben's got a Cascade Bluffs and casts Arcane Signet. Charles draws and plays a Misty Rainforest. He then cracks it and goes to find an untapped Breeding Pool, taking 2. He then casts Rampant Growth to find a basic and passes. David's got a mountain and pays 2 for an Arcane Signet. Corwin draws and casts Lux Artillery, probably my favorite card in the Toph deck. He ships it after that. Ben's got an island and is able to then cast Fire Lord Azula. Charles draws and plays Sulphur Falls, and then taps enough mana for Stormkiln Artist. David's got a Rakdos Signet in his main phase, and then taps enough for Lightning Greaves. Corwin draws and casts Toph. He then uses the floating mana from the Soul Ring to cast Stone of Reach. He then moves to his end step, getting to Earthbend with Toph onto the stone. Ben draws and plays a Shivan Reef, and swings Azula at David. Before moving to damage, Ben uses the Firebending mana to cast Ancestor's Aid, and gets to copy it, pumping Azula to 8 damage and make some treasures. He then follows up by casting Sazakap's Brew. He copies it and gives Charles a fish, and Azula goes up to 12, and Ben discards a card and then draws 2 twice. Ben then continues his pump spells with Titan Strength, bringing Azula up to 18 power after copying it, and then casts and copies Frantic Search, drawing 2, discarding 2, and untapping 3 lands twice. Before untapping his lands, he floats 2 mana, and then casts Snap and targets Stone of Reach and Toph, bouncing them back to hand as well. Ben then floats 2 more mana before untapping some lands with Snap, and he casts the Great Train Heist, paying the motes for the pump and the extra combat step. David then takes 20 commander damage, and Ben then swings Azula at David again to take him out. With nothing else, Ben passes. Charles draws and plays a Wooded Foothills, cracking it and losing 1 for an untapped Stomping Ground. He then casts a Firebrand Archer, and then taps it to help cast Waterbending Lesson. This is Charles pinging the table for 1, and making a treasure from the Stormkiln Artist. Charles then cracks the treasure, casting Seismic Sense. He reveals an Urabrask off of it, and passes. Corwin's got a Plains, and casts Cycle of Renewal. He sacrifices the Carplusian Forest to go and find 2 more basics, passing after that. Ben draws and sends Azula at Corwin, and before leaving declare attackers, casts Leap on Azula and gets a copy of it. Corwin responds to this with Earth Shape, targeting his Plains, and Ben then draws 2 and Azula gains Flying. Ben then continues by casting a Mocking Doppelganger, which he should get a copy of, but unfortunately they get confused thinking it's only instants and sorceries that Azula copies. He decides to copy the Stormkiln Artist on Charles' side, and he then casts Thrill of Possibility, discarding a card and drawing 4 thanks to the copy. Ben then follows up with Crimson Wisps, and Demand Answers, which he sacrifices a treasure to. Corwin then only takes a surprising 4 damage, and Ben moves to his second main phase. He plays the Black Gate, and he then casts Avatar Roku, Firebender. He then casts Kedis, and passes. Charles draws, playing a mountain, and casts Into the Fire, picking the mode to bottom cards and draw. He puts 4 on the bottom, drawing 5, one of which is a Blasphemous Act. The board is wiped, with Corwin's Plains coming back tapped because of Earthbending, and Charles follows up by casting Urabrask and passing. Corwin draws and casts Chocobo Racetrack. and then plays a commercial district which comes in tapped and surveils 1, which has him putting Genesis Wave to a graveyard. Corwin also gets to make a bird token off the racetrack, and he then replays Stone of Reach and passes. Ben draws and plays an untapped Blood Crypt taking 2, and then casts Felwar Stone. He follows up with a Fairy Mastermind, and then Gogo Mysterious Mime, and he goes to combat. He has Gogo become a copy of the Mastermind, and swings both at Corwin. Corwin takes the hit for 8, and Ben passes. Charles draws and casts Metamorphose, drawing a card and making 2 mana. He then plays an Exotic Orchard. He uses the floating mana from Metamorphose to cast Farseek, going to find a Hedge Maze, and surveils 1. He then casts Chandra's Ignition, targeting Urabrask. Charles then wipes the board and deals some damage to his opponent's faces, plus gets to ping Ben for 1 with Urabrask trigger. He then swings Urabrask at Ben for 4. After that, Charles then flips Urabrask, dealing another 3 to Ben, and passes. Corwin draws for turn, and his main phase has him casting Avatar Kyoshi. He then moves to combat and gets to Earthbend 8 onto the commercial district, making a huge land creature. He doesn't attack and just ships it. Ben draws, playing Sokenzan as his land, and then recasts Azula. Once she resolves, he plays out Veyran and passes. Charles's main phase has him drawing and then making 3 treasures off the Great Work. He then casts Iroh and casts the Waterbending Lesson from his graveyard for only 1 colorless. He then continues by playing a Flooded Grove, and then flashes back Metamorphose from his graveyard. Charles uses the floating mana to then flash back Chandra's Ignition, and wipes away Ben's board once more, plus deals some damage to his opponent's faces. Corwin's turn has him casting Ice Tiller Explorer, and he then plays a Carplusian Forest from his graveyard, milling 1. He then casts Toph, and goes to combat, earthbending on his forest. Corwin then swings Kyoshi at Charles, who takes the hit for 6. After that, Corwin then earthbends on the Lux Artillery during his end step. Ben draws and casts a Demonic Tutor in his main phase, going to find a card, and then playing a Smoldering Marsh. He casts Giggling Skitterspike, and then passes turn. During the end step, Corwin activates Stone of Reach to exile Ben's graveyard. Charles's upkeep has him casting Mystical Tutor, and he goes to find Heroic Intervention, putting it on top. He then draws it for turn, and flips Urabrask back into Urabrask. All of Charles's instants and sorceries also get flashback because of this, and he then casts Heroic Intervention, giving his board indestructible and hexproof, and follows up with a Blasphemous Act. He pings Corwin with the Urabrask trigger, and the board is then wiped. Charles then flashes back Mystical Tutor, going to find Overwhelming Victory and puts it on top. He then continues with Thirst for Knowledge, pinging Corwin again, and drawing 3, and then binning 2. He then casts Overwhelming Victory, and targets a bird, pinging Ben this time. The bird gets taken out, and his creatures get pumped by +3/+0 from the extra damage. He then continues by casting Overwhelming Victory again for 1 colorless since it's a lesson, and removes Corwin's second bird, pumping his creatures by a further +3/+0 and trample. Charles then swings Iroh at Corwin to take him out, and passes turn. Ben draws and activates Giggling Skitterspike to become monstrous. He then casts his own version of Chandra's Ignition, targeting the Skitterspike. With it being targeted, he deals 6 to Charles off the cast, then deals 6 to all the creatures and 6 to Charles with the Ignition, and then swings the Skitterspike at Charles for an additional 6, plus deals 6 damage as it connects. This has Charles dropping to a total of 4, and Ben passes. Charles draws and plays a Bark Channel Pathway, and recasts Iroh. He unfortunately doesn't have any way to deal with Ben, or remove the Skitterspike in hand or graveyard, and Charles just has to pass. Ben plays a Fabled Passage for turn, and needs only swing the Skitterspike at Charles to win the game. Game review time. So, obviously the strongest card this game was probably that Giggling Skitterspike. This is one of those cards that slipped under my radar, possibly because so many cards are coming out recently, but my goodness did this do work. As soon as Ben was able to make it monstrous, it seemed like it was a great blocker, and I didn't realize that it triggers on target, attack, and block. The monstrous turn did 24 points of damage to Charles, and it would have been an additional extra 6 points of damage per opponent had David and Corwin still been in the game. That's a lot, and considering it's indestructible is really difficult to get rid of. Fantastic card, love it, and would love to know if you run this in any of your decks. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.